So Greg, I mean, I'm not sure if I need to tell you this, but some of your shirts are kind of crappy. I mean, you know,
What do you mean by crappy? They got a sweet little pocket right here.
I mean they
That's
could be better. I mean, there's a place I know where it has lots of cool stuff. Uh,
yeah, but how cool?
we're talking about triple A cool. We're talking about shirts from 86.com. They're a pretty cool site. They sell all types of merchandise, including t-shirts, keychains, and other cool stuff that they sell on their site. And also have awesome video game material as well, such as Street Fighter, Killer Instinct, Guilty Gear, Skullgirls, BlazBlue, Smite, and 86's own brand of t-shirts as well as other stuff. Recently they put out some new keychains for Street Fighter 5. So yeah, there's some awesome stuff there. So I'm just suggesting, next time you go out and buy a shirt of any kind, I suggest check out 86.com. And if you want to support us and them at the same time, please use this link in your web browser to check out 86.com. Put in www.86.com question mark AFF equals 4. Again, www.86.com question mark AFF equals 4. This link will tell them that we sent you and that we're cool with them as long as you're cool with us. Thank you and enjoy the show. Hello, everybody. Uh, it is 3:03, and it is time for another episode of Mission Start Podcast. I am your host, Anthony Vianis. Joining me as always to talk about everything in the past week of gaming news is none other than Greg Dietz.
Guys, save me. Anthony twists my arms to be on this podcast.
I deny nor confirm that really happened. Uh, I'll leave that up to you guys to kind of discover. But yeah. Anyways, so it is getting down to the end of the year. So in terms of game news, there aren't going to be a lot per se. With the exception of one big thing that's coming out, news-wise next month, which we'll talk about in a minute here. But essentially, this is the time where most gaming outlets, are, on holiday, or not many things
Well,
are going on. So
there's also a big lull after, like, when there's a big news week. There's
mhm,
usually a big lull right
mhm,
after. I think that's
yep,
also a big factor.
that's true. Last week,
Everyone's just like, oh god, it's like I ran a mile.
yeah, last week there was a bunch of big news out of PSX and the Game Awards, and it was my God, like there was so much that came out regarding announcements and games and whatnot. But with not to say we got nothing for this week. We actually got some news for this week that is very important to the very like interesting. Like, oh, that happened. So let's start things off with the new app for Nintendo that recently came out. We're talking about the new Super Mario Run game that came out recently, or going to come out pretty soon.
Going to come out.
Yeah, I thought
Because I
it came.
thought it came out on the 10th. I thought it came out on the 10th, but it turns out it comes out on the 15th.
Yeah,
But on the 10th is when the demo happened, or at least you could play the demo at an Apple store, I guess.
yeah, something along those lines. You can play the demo and then play the full version later. So here's the thing. So two things about the new game. One, this is reported off of SensorTower.com. Nintendo's Super Mario Run poised to gross more than 70 million in its first month. December 15th won't just be another day for the App Store. 1 week from today, or by the time that this was posted, Nintendo will release its first mobile game, Super Mario Run, on Apple's platform. Something that not only has more than 20 million iOS users primed to tap the Get button on day one, but publishers in the games categories and beyond prepared and to and scrutinize every aspect of its launch performance. Sensor Tower is following the title's launch closely, especially in light of the unprepared success of Pokemon Go, a property partly owned and closely associated with Nintendo. As we await the first download and revenue figures from our store intelligence platform, our mobile insights team forecasts that Super Mario Run stands to cap off at a historic year for the iOS game launches by earning more than $71 million in worldwide gross revenue, $50 million net during its first month availability in its launch countries, which do not include China. I am not surprised if as far as like a prediction like that. I'm not surprised about the numbers as far as like the number of how much this game can get, because I think we talked about it on this podcast that we like it's gonna sell. I said it's gonna sell a lot of money regardless. Like the app, the video game app that's gonna come out for iPhone and then eventually Android, is going to be huge. I think it's going to be a big. I think Nintendo is going to be in a win-win situation, at least at the moment.
I think here's the thing: is we've established that Nintendo has the handheld market locked down.
Oh yeah.
The fact that their Switch is both a home console and a handheld console, they're going to sell so many.
That's huge. That's huge.
It's going to be stupid. It's going to be stupid come March.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, definitely.
I think I even said with a friend on like right after Jimmy Fallon did this thing, with both the Switch and Mario Run. Like I said, Nintendo, do not skimp out on this fucking console. Nintendo has a tradition of like, hey, people really want this thing. We're only going to put a few out.
Yeah.
Nintendo Classic, for example, they just did it.
Yeah.
They can't do that with the Switch. They cannot do that with the Switch. They have to supply like at least twice the amount that is pre-ordered.
Well, I mean, like not to jump to the other story, but like Nintendo.
I was getting something. I was just
okay.
Getting a drink.
All right. Okay. Gotcha. I was like, wait, we're still on the Mario Run thing.
We're still on Mario Run.
Yeah.
The point that I was getting at is that the reason I bring up the Switch is that Nintendo figured out geniusly they have the handheld market on lockdown. How do you continue the handheld market on lockdown? By making really good phone games.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you say it's poised to make 70 million,
yeah,
I say higher. Ooh. I say more than that.
People
aren't mad they have to pay $10.
Well,
People aren't mad about that.
Yeah, because the thing about it is like there has been some games which cost more than $10 or $10 in prior history when it comes to the games on iPhone, but like nobody's going to really care the fact that it's going to cost $10. Because the fact that whenever Nintendo puts out a Mario game, generally it is pretty good. Most of the time, there are definitely some games that came out that Nintendo had made or had Mario in it, and it just was not the greatest in the world. But this is going to make a ton of money, especially on phones. Man. Because like. Okay, so most people have a smartphone today, if not 80% of people in the United States, Japan, people adapted to the smartphone. That's the next evolution of, mobile as far as like phones wise. Mm-hmm. This is going to make tons of money. I think you're right. I think it will pass 71 million. I think it's going to make a crap ton of money, and it will.
I couldn't tell you how much, but I know it's going to make more.
Yeah. Like I would predict, I'm gonna ballpark it here. I'm gonna say 200 million.
Wow, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Look at Pokemon Go.
Oh yeah.
That thing blew up in a few days.
Yes.
And it's still making a lot of money, and people aren't like that many people aren't playing it anymore.
Yeah. They make tons of money.
Or as many started playing it. This game doesn't have microtransactions that we know of. because it's $10 out the gate. The only thing people are complaining about is that it's online only. That's
Yes.
the only thing people are complaining about.
So yeah.
And even in that regard, people aren't complaining that much about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like the people are like, well, if I have to take the train across New York City, it goes underground, and I don't get internet under there, blah, 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 rough. It's like, all right, then don't play it on the train.
Well, I mean, you got to think, though, too, like the average person who has a smartphone, some of them are on commute, some of them are listening to this podcast right now, actually. And some of them are, and I've been there. Like, I've taken BART to San Francisco or to, Daly City. And, the BART goes under, so you can't play your game because you have to wait until you go above ground to get that connection again. And for some people, that's, very important. Because, like, they want to be consistently entertained and not just stand there and look at people and people stare, or just look at the window or whatever. But
I totally understand that. I totally understand that. But Anthony, as someone who rides BART, also I know that Sacramento doesn't have any underground tunnels.
Mm-hmm.
You're not worried about being on the BART system and you losing internet connection on your phone, correct? Like your 4G connection.
Sorry, say what's the question again? Sorry, I'm just like totally out.
I was asking if you're worried about losing your 4G connection while being on the BART.
It's not even that. It's more or less just being entertained. Like that's just
Well.
I mean that's
question.
I know what you're saying, but that's the most important thing to as me personally. Like I pack up podcasts to listen to on the ride, so I can just listen to that while on the BART. But like I get what you're saying though. I get what you're saying.
I just think it's ridiculous that people are complaining that it's online only when it's very, very, very few people have to go in locations with no internet. And unfortunately, like, look, I have T-Mobile. It doesn't have the best coverage.
Mm-hmm.
I go into the foothills and my phone goes, internet? What's that? I hope you can find a Wi-Fi hotspot or someone's computer, like personal internet, because I can't do anything right now. And in those moments, I won't be able to play the game. But I'm also not going to play the game not sitting down. You know what I'm saying?
Well, as shown on Jimmy Fallon's Late Show, you can do it with one hand. You don't have to. You can have one hand and eat a cake if you wanted to.
Yeah, because you just have. There was a thing on Facebook that I saw where it showed a hand doing this, showing you exactly when and where to tap.
Yeah.
And you really only have to tap to jump. That's it.
Yeah, it's an auto runner, but you do tap to jump, and it goes, exchange directions, whatnot. So
to change directions, you just have to you just don't do anything. You just make him run across the thing. If you don't want him to change directions, you jump over that thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely.
So it's the point I'm getting at is that complaint about it being online only is ridiculous to me.
I can see it. I can see the viewpoint of though, like, because like what makes the Nintendo Mario game much different than other iPhone games regarding offline and online. There are some games on iPhone.
They're doing it to counteract. I mean, this is why a lot of games are online only nowadays. Regardless, is to counteract piracy.
Do you think so? You think it's
a piracy
thing?
That's exactly what Nintendo said.
For the mobile iPhone? I mean, I know that for the 3DS. I know they've actually are looking to find a way to hire hackers to hack this through a third party so that they can figure out okay, so we can find a way to prevent this for future hacking and whatnot. But for the mobile iPhone, I know there's
somebody at Polygon contacted, I think it was Polygon or Kotaku, contacted Nintendo of America and asked what are the reasons why it needs to be online all the time. And their main reason was their number one reason to counteract piracy.
Oh wow!
And that's why a lot of games right now are online only. It's just an easier way to handle piracy than it would be to back in the day, where there's a reason we have these lists of these game companies did a crazy thing in their game when somebody hacked it. Like Serious Sam having the unbeatable giant crab thing, or Command and Conquer nuking your entire city in 5 minutes or whatever. Those kinds of anti-piracy tools were funny back then, and they worked, but also it was kind of like the developers were like, there's not a whole lot we can do. Nowadays, there's a whole lot they can do, and that's by making the games require online only. And in my viewpoint, when you look at it from that perspective, when you look at it from the perspective of most people probably aren't going to play this game without an internet connection, and there are a lot of mobile games already that make a crap ton of money that require constant online connectivity. I mean, Pokemon Go being one of them.
Right.
Which leads me to another point. Like, if you were playing Pokemon Go, but now we're complaining that Super Mario Run requires the same thing that Pokemon Go required, what?
Yeah,
Huh?
I get what you're saying. I didn't know that they actually did say that. So, I mean, yeah, that's interesting. But speaking of which, this was reported by Mashable.com. And this was it's the same time we're talking about right now. Super Mario Run apparently requires an always-on internet connection. When you think about it, Super Mario Run is perfect entry point for Nintendo's leap into mobile gaming. Oh, I forgot to mention, it's written by Adam Rosenberg. Without the Mario games, that would be no endless runners. The genre first popularized on Apple's earliest iPhones, iPhones period, runs spices things up with distinctly Mario flavors, collectible coins of various colors, mushrooms, Goombas, Koopas, Troopers, boss battles, but embrace the one-handed play of a mobile game. Series creator and Super Mario producer Shigeru Miyamoto sat down to chat with Mashable ahead of the game's December 15th release. The brief, informative chat covered a range of topics, including the game's always online requirement, Nintendo's approach to formulating a mobile strategy, and Miyamoto's own ideas when it comes to designing for mobile. I'll link the whole article in the chat for those who want to check it out, and for those who are watching via other channels, I posted the link in the chat, so please come in and check it out. Let's see. I think so that's interesting. The fact that they are finding they want to prevent piracy on the mobile as well as on 3DS, which is interesting. I didn't think they were going to go that far, but I guess they do. So yeah. So so the last part of here is like, just to be clear, when you say security, you mean risk of piracy, right? And he responded, Miyamoto responded, that's correct. Unlike our dedicated game devices, the game is not releasing in a limited number of countries. We're launching in 150 countries, and each of those countries has different network environments and things like that. So it was important for us to be able to have it secure for all users. So, okay.
I knew I'd read it, and I was kind of trying to like rack my brain where I read it from.
Yeah. So it was Mashable.com. Shout out.
Well, I think. Well, I definitely don't go to Mashable, so I think somebody else took it from Mashable, or Mashable is just regurgitating what other people are saying too. Either way,
I mean, it's all the same thing, honestly. So
right.
One side reports from another side, and yada yada. The list goes on. So
it's on my shirt here. I saw it on the stream.
Also, before I forget to mention, Randy Nelson was the guy who wrote about Nintendo's 70 million prediction on SensorTower.com. So just not to leave him out. All right, so yeah, I mean, like, it's Nintendo's world. And speaking of Nintendo, who here actually watched TV for once in a while? We're talking about the Switch, which was debuted physically debuted on Jimmy Fallon's Late Show, and it showed off the actual. Okay, they first went out with the Super Mario Run demo. They showed that off first, but then they eventually showed off the physical Switch. They first showed Legend of Zelda on the Pro Controller on the big screen, and then afterwards they switched. No pun intended, but I'll take it. They didn't pick up the console afterwards, and it went from the big screen to the small screen. I'll let this video play out as we talk about it, just so you guys can see. But yeah, like they it went to the actual console, the Switch, and the first thing that came to mind when I first saw that was that the console itself, or just the device, is actually a lot thinner than I thought. Like, I thought it was gonna be much more bulkier than what they've shown in the commercial. But yeah, that thing is actually pretty thin.
It's interesting you say that, because that's about like that's what I thought it was. I will say this though, the thing that I didn't see coming with it is how how do I say this? The clicking in and out of the controllers, the little basically everything's a little stiffer than they show in the trailer. Like, everything's super smooth in the trailer, and it's just like snap, like a snap of your fingers. It's just that easy, snap. But it's not like that. It is it's a bit more like click.
Yeah, definitely. There's much more of a response this time around with the buttons. Much more of a clacky, much more of a definitive, like you are pushing a button on this console. It's I mean, I think what they showed of Legend of Zelda on the Switch looks great. It looks super cool.
Oh yeah.
But man, I'm still, and there's a lot of people who are kind of like taking apart what exactly was shown on the device, including, like, there's a new USB port apparently, like USB-C, I think they're talking about, regarding just like, hey, this is a new USB port that's going to be happening with the new console, as well as, like, there's like a reset button that's in the back somewhere. Like, people are really taking it apart as far as like the physicality of it, but to me,
yeah, something that we talked about a while back is that dock that it comes in.
Yeah.
Is that the only way to charge it? Can I get like a separate charge cable? Torch. Talking like a Bostonian. Charge cable. Yeah, I want to know if it has. I want to know if it has that individual ability to do that, because something I've been talking about with my best friend is that we're going to be reserving the Switch with our income tax.
Oh, nice.
And I want to bring mine over to his house. And I'm watching the video right now being like, wait, let me find it. Okay, so that's another thing I just noticed. Holy crap. Sorry to interrupt and just completely go off kilter. He is playing with the regular controller, and the screen itself has controllers on the side of it.
Yeah. You can play with a Pro and with
not what I mean. He doesn't take the little pieces off the Pro controller.
Go on.
The system's sitting right there, right?
Yeah, I see it.
It's right there.
Yeah.
He's going to pick up the smaller controller. He's going to use it, and then when he switches to the feed on the system itself, he doesn't switch the little side controller pieces.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see what you're saying. He doesn't take it. Oh, okay, but he does the whole controller itself. Okay, I see what you're saying.
So what I'm thinking, which is really cool, is you can buy. He doesn't even. Okay, never mind. I caught up to the stream. He picks up a Pro controller, a full-on Pro controller. What I got excited about was that you could buy multiple of those side panel thingies.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Or the snap controllers, as I think we should probably start calling them.
Yeah, I hear you.
Regardless, that thing is really cool. It's really exciting, but I really do want to know, like, what I'm hoping, and looking at the video, looking at this feed, what I'm really, really hoping is that the dock itself has like an HDMI cable, and it has a little plug piece, right? Like you plug it in. And then the dock will charge the tablet as you play. But also on top of that little charge piece that goes in the back of the dock can also go into the back of the, or on some part of the Switch itself.
Right. Yeah. So yeah,
I'm very excited about the Switch.
Yeah, like I am too. I am very excited. It's something that I could safely say in a long time Nintendo is finally putting out a console that I think is both interesting. I wouldn't say innovative yet, but it's
Oh, I
it
think it's
definitely
innovative.
is definitely taking some great ideas of taking literally the console from big screen as you see on stream to literally pick it up as a portable and take it with you.
Is that not
Again,
innovative?
I'm just surprised at how thin that thing is. Like, man,
Well, you don't consider that innovative?
I think it is. It's only because like I feel like Nintendo's always trying to innovate something every time they bring out a new console, and sometimes it's hit or miss.
Well, I mean, I've had this conversation with the head of Mission Star, or sorry, Half Empty Energy Tank, almost said our own name. But he made a very valid point about Nintendo. Each odd numbered generation is innovation. The NES, the Nintendo 64, the Wii, those are all innovative consoles. The one that comes after that, the Super Nintendo, the GameCube, the Wii U, those are what do you? Damn it! Refinement.
I'm curious.
It's refinement. You know, think about each individual console that Nintendo's come out with, and you'll have
You said odd numbers was when the console comes out and it's innovative, right?
yeah, and I'm talking about home console, by the way, not handheld, so don't factor that in.
Oh no, I'm just curious about one other thing because we're talking about like as far as like innovation when it comes to just consoles, but like okay, no, I think that you're right. I think that.
I mean, and innovation doesn't necessarily have to come from the console itself. It can come from the games on the console.
Right.
I think that 64 is a perfect example of that. The games on the console were innovative to the point that they pushed other people to do different things with games. Mario 64 is definitely a perfect example of like, yo, y'all can do a platformer in 3D. And I think Mario 64 to an extent inspired a lot of developers to do what they did, even though I don't like that game that much. But you know, the GameCube was just refinement of what the 64 did. The Super Nintendo was just refinement of what the NES did. And certainly no one can argue that the Wii U is a refinement of the Wii. So I'm pretty sure the Switch is innovation. I'm pretty sure the Switch is innovation and that people will clamor for it. People will want it. People will buy. I sure as hell want one. And
yeah.
I can't wait for 4 years down the road when Nintendo comes out with the refinement of the Nintendo Switch, and it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what people are pretty excited for the console, but my question is Nintendo? Are they going to? I feel like they're in a place like when it comes to the big three. We're talking about Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft. I feel like they're in a place where they feel pretty comfortable in that second place spot in terms of like you can have your major consoles, but you can have like the Switch on the side as well. It's the same way it was for the Wii and the Wii U at the time, and I feel like they kind of
sure, but I don't know. I don't see them. I don't see them doing what they did with the Wii U.
Oh yeah,
with the whole like new controller, but you could use the old controllers on it. I don't see that happening. I see them coming out with like a full-on refinement, you know, the GameCube and the Super Nintendo.
It does beg the question as far as like what other controllers can be used, because we saw in that video with Jimmy Fallon, Reggie was playing with a pro controller with the Switch. So I wonder if that means that we can use like other Wii U controllers with the Switch, maybe. I don't know.
I doubt it. I think I highly doubt it.
I think the Pro might be the only exception, but we'll see. In due time, we'll see.
I doubt that. I don't think that that's just a Pro controller. I think that that's like a Switch Pro controller, and it's not even called a Pro controller. They haven't announced anything in that regard.
Yeah.
All we know about the Switch is what they've shown in that trailer and on Jimmy Fallon, and that is it.
Yeah.
So we don't know the names of anything. We don't know what it's going to come with. It could come with that controller.
Yeah.
It could be called the home controller, for all we know. So,
yeah.
But it's lack of limitations is what excites me the most about the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, definitely. It is definitely. Man, yeah. We'll have more information when the event comes out next month.
January.
Yeah.
January's gonna
So yeah, it's gonna be sick. No,
Do we
Nintendo.
have a date on when that direct is coming out?
Let me look it up. I don't think they announced a date, but let me do some live reporting right now for you. Nintendo
That was
Direct.
my live reporting news thing.
Let's see. Switch. Okay, so first article: Nintendo Switch price and launch date will be announced on January 12th. This is being reported by ArsTechnica.com.
Oh, I'll be in North Carolina.
For the MacFest?
Yeah, I fly out on the 26th of December, and I come back on the 13th of January.
Oh.
So it'll be the day right before I come back is when they'll do that.
You guys can do live reactions, probably. Yeah.
Maybe. That being said, by the way, guys, during those weeks I will not be on the podcast. Just to preemptively say that now.
Yep. Greg will be gone missing. He's gonna leave me for a while, so it's alright.
It's just hard to do. I mean, I'll see what I can do, and we'll see what happens. But as far as I know right now, I will be absent.
That's okay. I can find somebody else. You're not important.
Unreplaceable? Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like January 12th next month. All right, that's awesome. That's early next month.
That's exciting.
That's awesome. Sweet, cannot wait. Cannot wait. Also, thank you for the follow, Vadamar85. Hey. Anyway, so aside from that, there's a certain game and movie that's coming out, like I'd say by next week, and I think there's some news about it. You ever heard about this movie called Star Wars Rogue One?
I think so. It's like an underground little thing.
Yeah. It's like, hey, it's something that that's happening. Anyway, aside from me jabbering about it, I'm pretty excited for the new Star Wars. But we did get some news regarding it. This is reported by EuroGamer.net. Star Wars Battlefront Rogue One DLC gives us some pointers towards next year's sequel. This is written by Martin Robinson. It's taken its time, but step by step and piece by piece, DICE has moved towards the Battlefront that fans wanted. Not that it was too far from its first attempt, upon release last November. The Star Wars Battlefront was I cannot talk today. Star Wars Battlefront was an arrestingly gorgeous multiplayer shooter that only just stopped short of greatness. The updates outside of the expansion packs have often done a better job of keeping the game fresh than the paid DLC. But the final add-on on Battlefront feels like the most substantial, yet it certainly feels like one that's been shaped most by fan feedback as well. And I'll link the article in the chat if you guys want to check out the entire article, which is pretty long. But it basically goes into like this latest DLC is kind of a hint to Battlefield 2. Here's the thing about it. When did Battlefield, the latest one came out? That was 2 years ago, right?
Battlefront. You gotta
Battlefront.
Battlefield.
Oh my god, I am. All these games, they all kind of sending me. Okay, so Battlefield 1, Battlefront, Battlefront came out 2 years ago. I want to say, right? Hey, let me look it up. Or was it a year ago?
Yeah.
It was a year
No,
ago?
it was at least 2 years ago.
2 years ago? Okay. Because I know that
It
was
definitely wasn't last year.
Yeah, because it was in.
Unless I just don't know, and I'm just being dumb, and it did come out last year.
I mean, when did Star Wars Episode 7 came out? Was that last year, or was that 2 years ago?
That was last year.
Then Battlefront.
It was December last year.
Yeah, then they did come out last year because that game was tied to the movie so closely. So yeah, they brought out the game. They brought it out last year, and in time with the movie. The major complaint about that game, and what I've saw watching streams, is the fact that the core gameplay is fine. It's fine, but then there was just a lot of unbalanced stuff that would need to be patched out later on.
There's always unbalanced stuff in multiplayer games nowadays. Like it's just the nature of the beast. Like back in the day, if there was an unbalanced feature, odd job, nobody could pick him. Yeah. So but nowadays, like they would just try to patch in some shit that made Oddjob like the aiming reticle shoot him or his hitbox would be normal size or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of the world we live in today, and it's not really a bad thing. I'm okay with balancing issues. I think that sometimes the balancing issues go a little too far, Lucio. But but I really enjoyed Battlefront, like the new Battlefront. I think a lot of people complained that it didn't feel like the original, and I agree. I completely agree with that. However, when you take a franchise that you have absolutely no none of the framework for, like you just don't have access to that original content, and you have to build a game from scratch, this is what happens. And unfortunately, people will complain about it because it doesn't feel like the original. Now, I mean, DICE had a huge set of shoes to fill here with this game, because Battlefront 1 and 2 are regarded as some of the best shooters best shooters ever.
Yeah, and on top of that, like they weren't given enough time to really get this game out there. They wanted it to come out in time with the movie. Now, whether that amount of time they spent on it was a substantial amount of time, and that's pretty much what they're able to bring out. We don't, who's to say, but like the main complaint about Battlefront last year was that there was not enough content for the game. Like it felt like there weren't enough modes, there weren't enough maps to play on. Eventually, like everybody who played it had a lot of fun in that first month or two. They moved on to other games, and then we'll come back every once in a while. So the talk of this new DLC kind of pointing at the new Battlefront 2, if they can nail it right. I think one of the most requested things, and I think that people were asking for in the last one, was a campaign mode, and I think that would be
I hate that.
great.
I hate that people are asking for a campaign mode for Battlefront. It's not a campaign game. It never was a campaign game. Sure, they had like a campaign in number 2, but it really wasn't a campaign. It was like
True.
multiplayer maps where you played by yourself.
True.
Guess how I feel about that.
True.
I don't want a single player experience in Battlefront. That's dumb. Maybe not dumb, but it's just not necessary.
Would you be better off with more maps and just more wide range?
Of course. I want Battlefront 2 to be. I want it to expand all of Star Wars. When I say all, I'm talking about just the films.
I don't think they'll do that though. I mean, maybe. I don't think so though. I think they'll keep within the what they're developing right now, the Star Wars universe. But I don't think they're gonna go expand to the books or anything of that nature.
No. I'm talking about just the films. That's why I said I want it to be all the films.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Something that I really enjoyed about Battlefield 2, back in the day was.
You mean Battlefront?
Did I say Battlefield?
Yes, you did.
we're the worst, Anthony. We're the worst. Something I really enjoyed about Battlefront 2 back in the day was the battles on Naboo, the battles on the fields of Naboo, like with the droids versus the Gungans.
Oh yeah.
I really enjoyed like the Geonosis battles, the Cloud City battles. I enjoyed the space battles, even though controlling the ships in the first 2 games were not great. There were just a lot of really fun dynamic maps, and I do agree that this new one did not have those. The maps were good, but unfortunately there were some maps that I didn't know where they were from. I think that something about Star Wars that's really important is let me enjoy a map where I go, I recognize that from the movie. And they were like, here's a battle on Endor, but nothing in this particular scene is recognizable because it's a completely different area of Endor. Or I know it sounds weird, but my point is that it was like, hey, there's trees and the occasional Ewok house.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then like Hoth was probably the best level they had
Oh,
created
yeah.
with the game.
Yeah. Bar none.
Um,
Hoff is great.
Yeah, that was like that was awesome.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think of the other maps they made. I mean, that's also a problem. They made like a map that's on like this lava-ish planet that doesn't exist
Yeah.
in the movies.
It wasn't it a reference to Star Wars Episode 3?
No, because it's not Mustafar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's it's not Mustafar. So
Mhm.
it was some planet that, because there's a battle again leading into Episode 7.
Yeah.
Between Episode 6 and Episode 7, there were a lot of battles that happened. There's this book called Aftermath that talks about that. And one of those battles was on that planet that I just mentioned, and another one was on Jakku, the planet that Rey is from. And that's why we had two maps from parts that we've never seen. The parts directly from the book. And I think that Jakku was fun because they were like, it's the planet that this woman's from, and it takes place before 7, and everyone was just like, cool.
Yep.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, it didn't matter. It wasn't fun because we hadn't seen it. We want to fight the same battles that we've seen. We want to be a part of that. Or at the very least, make us do something that we feel had an impact on the world itself. So I'll give you an example. A game that did not have a great multiplayer, but it had an amazing single player, Republic Commando.
Oh yes. Oh man. Oof. We're talking about Star
Commando.
Wars games. That's freaking great.
Yeah, that's one of the best. Everything that we did in Republic Commando, we felt like had a point. That it was helping the Republic, that we were doing good. And the end of the game had an amazing moment that really just we were like, we changed the tide of the war. That's how we felt, going into Episode 3 with that game.
Mhm.
So it just like that's the kind of stuff that I want to see. I don't want to see any more planets that we don't know. That's ridiculous to me.
Mhm.
Like, let us fight on Bespin. Let us fight
Yes.
on Coruscant. Let us fight
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
Dagobah. Not Dagobah. I'm sorry. Mos Eisley.
Yeah.
Like, those places are fun to fight in because we know them.
Yes.
And that's ultimately my point right there. Like, if it's a battle above Coruscant and we do space battles, please.
Oh my
One of the
God,
cool things. I mean, one of the
yes.
fun things about
Frick yeah.
one of the fun things about Battlefield, I'm doing that intentionally, is if you spawn and there's vehicles at the spawn, you can take a vehicle. Well, the same thing was for Battlefront 1 and 2. Not with this game. In this game, you find little icons, and then you get to be in the thing. No! That's
Right.
less fun.
Yeah.
Let us climb into these ships that we know, these iconic machines.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
And those are my complaints. Those are my major complaints about Battlefront, because ultimately the gunplay is outstanding in
Yeah,
those games.
I think the core game is fine. I think the core game is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think
Ooh.
that's.
And on that note, I do enjoy how they delved out the heroes and villains. In terms of like they're overpowered, but they have a very short lifespan.
Yeah, that's fine.
I will say what I don't like is that it's based on like a single location for an icon. I think that it should be rewarded to a specific player.
Yeah, agreed.
Or just randomly given to a player,
Yeah. I agree with that. But yeah, like I've not seen any footage of the new DLC for the Star Wars game in terms of Rogue One, but when it comes out, I'll definitely check it out, and we'll definitely see more about it, and like we'll see like okay, so maybe this is going in this direction for Battlefront 2. It's kind of crazy to think about the already thinking about a sequel. A year before, last year of it coming out. But what we'll say though, it made a crap ton of money. Like holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
It made so much money. Like, it doesn't
You tell me
matter.
a thing with the Star Wars title in it made a lot of money?
Yeah, no, who would have thought that? Yeah, so it made tons of money, and like there are no worry of like the game didn't sell too well, so like they're trying again. Like no, they trust me, it's tons and tons of money, so they're fine.
Yeah, I need to make sure I also buy my tickets for Rogue One early.
I was gonna buy mine when they announced it, but I feel like at least over here in Fairfield, like I don't think there's much of a issue this time around to get tickets than there was last year, because I don't think that many people will know Star Wars Rogue One versus Star Wars Episode 7. So
That's fair.
Yeah, but aside from that, you want to talk about anime? I'm want to talk about anime.
All right.
So, recently, the Skullgirls developer, Lab Zero, did an Indiegogo for their new game Indivisible. It was fully funded, and it got to the point where like they were able to even fund the mystery anime studio that they're gonna have work on their intro for their game. And as you see on screen, it is anime studio Trigger, which has worked on previous animes, including Kill la Kill and Little Witch Academia. This is supported by Polygon.com, by Mako McWhorter. Lab Zero Games is teaming up with the Japanese animation studio Trigger, best known for his work on anime series Kill la Kill and Little Witch Academia, to produce the opening animation sequence for the role-playing game Indivisible. Lab Zero and publisher 505 Games announced today. The Skullgirls developer said it will work with the Los Angeles-based studio. Oh, really? What? This is new. Los Angeles-based studio Titmouse on storyboarding the animation, while Studio Trigger will execute the final product. Production on the animated intro is expected to begin early next year. I'll drop the link for the whole article. Holy crap! I did not know Titmouse also was involved in this. For those who don't know who Titmouse is, and trust me,
it's a bird. It's a little pretty bird like a finch.
Yeah, I mean, like it's not what you think it is. It's not a dirty thing I'm trying to say. Like Titmouse is a legitimate animation studio. They are the guys who made Metalocalypse as an example. Man, I gotta actually hold them real. I gotta look up, but they've done a lot of stuff for Adult Swim. Yes, like a lot of stuff for Adult Swim. I believe they also did. My favorite one. It was Super Jail. I think they also did that too. Which, my God, if you want to love animation, Super Jail is one of the best animated things you'll ever see on Cartoon Network. So I suggest go check it out. But like, holy crap! That is awesome. Did not know they were also involved. But yeah, I am super excited. I mean, what's the word I'm looking for? Full disclosure, I play Skullgirls. I love Lab Zero, and I included the story in the newsreel. But the fact that they're working with a very well-known anime studio with a very well-known Western studio in a combination is like, oh my God, that is crazy. So this is going to be the best animated intro I'm going to watch when it comes out. It's going to be for Indivisible. They didn't say when exactly the game's coming out. I did talk to Mike Z a little bit about it. He said that the game is coming along pretty well, but like as far as like where launch window, I think it's still pretty far off. If I were to guess, I'd say like another year maybe. Yeah, sounds alright. Because this game was announced, I wouldn't say like 2 years ago. I want to say.
Yeah, I feel like it'll come out like middle of fall of next year.
Yep. So it's really cool. I'm super excited. I did not know Titmouse was involved. So yay. Okay, so moving on to the next story we have here. Sony sold 50 million PS4s this year alone. Crazy number to think about, but they managed to do it. This is reported off of TheVerge.com by Andrew Webster. Sony has announced the sales of the PlayStation 4 has surpassed 50 million units. Oops, wrong one. Hang on. Oops, I got the wrong video. Okay, hang on. You see like a small little square. Okay, so I messed up on that part. But anyways, back to me. Sony has announced the sales of the PlayStation 4 have surpassed 50 million units as of this year, as of this week. The console. What? Okay, whatever. I'm going to continue. The console, which launched in November 2013, hit the 40 million mark back in May of this year. The sales milestone includes sales of original PS4 hardware, the newly introduced slim redesign of the console, and the higher-end PS4 Pro, which launched last month. Sony says that the sales urge was helped in part by the best ever Black Friday week for the PlayStation device. It's unclear exactly how this compares to sales of the Xbox One, the PS4's most direct competition, as Microsoft has released hasn't released sales data for the console. According to the NPD Group, the Xbox One was outselling the PS4 in recent months due to a large part of introduction of the smaller Xbox One S model. In August, Nvidia estimated that the Xbox One had an installed base of 29 million. Next fall, Microsoft is slated to launch its own high-end console with the 4K-capable Project Scorpio. So, okay, so it's 40 million since, or about 50 million since November 2013 when it came out. Okay, so erase what I just said earlier about regarding this year, but still a crap ton of consoles for the PS4. And I think I mean, like, by the numbers, 50 million is a really good milestone. It's a really good amount of money that Sony has made. But as far as the landscape right now, because right now the console market right now is just as screwed up as it was ever been. Because of, like, now we got the PS4 basic, the slim, and then the Pro. And then eventually we're going to have the Xbox One right now, the S, and then Project Scorpio, whatever that's going to be in the future. And it's, again, like, they're going after the game industry. I wouldn't say at large, but, like, I feel like the consoles, the big major two, outside of Nintendo, are aiming for 4K and believing that 4K is going to be the next thing. And it's another shot in the dark. It's like, if this is going to be the next big thing in the tech industry. And we have to wait and see, because 4K TVs, there aren't that many out. You can't do as many games in 4K, nor watch stuff as much as you want in 4K. It's gonna take some time, but it's a shot in the dark. I don't know. I'm not sure if this is gonna be a thing or not. To me, it reminds me of the 3D TV, and whether it was a thing that people were gonna go hop on, but it never did. So, like, it is another bet, and I think that it's too unclear to find out. It's too vague right now as far as, like, if it is going to be the next big thing. So I don't know. I mean, like, Greg, are you? I mean, I think we had this discussion before, but, like, as far as, like, because I know the Project Scorpio is also aiming at the same thing as far as, like, 4K. But, like, do you think that will you hop on the new console for Project Scorpio because it is a better console overall, or do you think it's because of the idea of the 4K that it's going to be the next?
Well, I think this. I mean, this goes into, like, if you look at the history of advancing video quality, it takes a while for it to get there, and it definitely takes other people creating. It takes other people creating things for said thing. For example, when color TV was becoming a thing, people really wanted them, and the main reason was because a lot of studios and companies were promoting color TV. You look at LED TVs. It was because it was a better quality, and people really wanted it. There's a reason that there was a battle between. I mean, look at the next generation of home entertainment. It was Blu-ray or HD DVD, and Blu-ray only won out because, well, the PlayStation 3 came with a Blu-ray player. That's the primary reason it won. And I defended HD DVD too, because they were essentially the same quality. The only argument that somebody could have against HD DVD was that it didn't have as much disk space as the Blu-ray.
That was the big thing. Yeah.
But at the same note, like, half of the Blu-ray's ability is never used. At least at that time it wasn't.
Oh yeah.
Now it is, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, um, but I mean, it was the primary reason it won because it sold more simply because it was on the PS4 or PS3. Um, and to me, 4K resolution TVs are definitely going to be the next big thing when it comes to home entertainment. They'll get better and better and then cheaper and cheaper. But as of right now, they're going to be seemingly novelty. And with PlayStation and Microsoft going to the extent of like supporting the hell out of it, everything else will fall in line. Everything else will continue to go down that path. But the big thing about 4K is that your eyeballs can't really process 4K that well.
Yeah.
It's like asking for anything, your mind can't process more than 30 frames a second.
Yeah. Wasn't it 30 frames or was it 24?
It might be 24. Point is that asking for 60 frames a second or complaining when a game doesn't have that is ridiculous. Because you're not actually seeing 60 frames a second. You think you are.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot smoother.
Same with 4K.
It's a lot smoother, yeah.
But on that note, 4K is a better quality.
It is.
Simple and plain. And as long as companies like Microsoft and Sony go to that extent, it'll happen. Now, will I get a Scorpio for the 4K? No. I'll get a Scorpio because it is essentially the next Xbox. What I like about the Scorpio is that you can play all the games that come out will work on regular Xbox and Scorpio, which is great because if I can't afford a Scorpio, I'm not missing out. But it is the next line of Xboxes as far as I see. So to answer your question, no. That aspect does not shape whether or not I buy something. But if you were to ask me other specs, speed, quality of games, potential future, those would be the reasons.
Yeah, definitely. But like again, we'll find out soon enough, and whether this is actually going to be true or not. But way in the future, we'll find out soon enough. 4K. Last but not least, last story of the day. Well, technically two, but I forgot to put it in here. But last story of today's podcast. So, sadly, one company is completely out of the game industry. They used to be in it, and we're talking about a studio called Majesco. As reported by Polygon.com by Samet Sarkar, Majesco merges with medical technology company exits games business. Majesco Entertainment is finished as a video game publisher. The company has merged with Polarity TE, a company developing tissue regeneration technology. The two firms announced yesterday. Although a news release from Majesco included that Polarity can't pronounce it today, will become a wholly owned subsidiary of Majesco following the closing of the deal. It is also said that Majesco will go forward under the Polarity name. The post-merger firm Polarity, which will be based in Salt Lake City, currently retains Majesco's iconic stock symbol on the Nasdaq exchange, which is cool. Which I find that kind of hilarious. And I'll link the whole article in the chat so you guys can read the whole thing. And those, again, who are watching through other channels, all the links for today's news are in the chat. You guys can check it out. So yeah, Majesco is out of the game industry, which is interesting. I'm looking right now actually as far as like what games they, like what exactly like they came out with, because like they did come out with Rainbow Six. Actually, they were the first ones to do it. But as far as like what they're give me a second here. As far as like what games they came out with, they've been. Let me look at it real quick. Come on, give me the games. Okay, well here's the history of it. Hang on a second, guys. This is total. This is totally like the most entertaining thing right now. Is watching me trying to look up what games were there for Majesco. Oh my god, wait, hang on. Why is it so much harder to find these games? Right? I mean, Majesco is definitely was a company that like was in it, what it's in its prime back in the day, but like later on, it just did not. They didn't develop as much. Okay, so I got some games on here. It's not all of them, but okay, so they came out with. Let's see. So we got Blood Rain 2, Bomberman. Give me a second here. They came out with a game called Terminal Reality. Oh no, that's the developer. Sorry, it's the developer. Blood Rain 2. Okay. Let's see. Advent Rising. I remember that game. That game was crap. That game was supposed to be a series, and that never happened. So after the first game, they were the publisher for Psychonauts, which sold poorly. They were also a publisher for Jaws Unleashed. So take it for whatever that's worth. Taxi Driver, Cooking Mama for DS. That's about it. Yeah, I know there's a ton of other games they came out with, but like I cannot find it for the life of me. I wish there was a list of games that they would like show me. I was gonna look it up earlier, but I wasn't able to. Anyways, that being said, not really any fond memories of Majesco, honestly, but like it's just, you know.
Yeah, they were a developer that they produce a lot of games that a lot of kids.
Yeah.
You know.
At the very least, they're merging. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I finished my thought. I couldn't think of the word played.
Yeah.
And then I remembered it.
Yeah, same here. At the very least, they're merging with a company that's actually doing something great. I mean, if you would choose between video games and actually creating like human tissue for people, I think that human tissue and medical stuff is more important. So, at least that. But no, it's Majesco, R.I.P. Yeah. So, anyways, that's gonna do the show. Oh, I will say one last thing before we end the show. Actually, I forgot to mention. So on Twitch next week, Sunday and Monday, I believe, they are live streaming on Twitch from the White House. Several games, including Street Fighter V with some of the Street Fighter V players. They're gonna have Rocket League. They're gonna have like multiple other games. Shaq is involved, and it's in an effort to promote the Obamacare, I believe, or just health in general. And it's going to be live stream starting next Monday. I think it's a week-long event. I'm not quite sure, but that's happening next week. And that's going to be kind of interesting because there's one thing we've learned from President Obama is that he actually does play games as well from time to time. So I want to see a set between the President Obama versus like Justin Wong in the first of 10 in Street Fighter V, and it'd be super awesome. But I don't think it's gonna happen. No, that'd be hilarious. No, but him and Shaq would be the best. Oh man, that'd be super sick. But anyways, we come to the end of the show. Before we go, Greg, where can I find you on the internet?
Oh, you can find me on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram under Chub Rock Geek. You can find me on Snapchat under Chub Rock Snap. Not all social medias out of the war. I stream every Saturday on Half Empty Energy Tank. Maybe not every Saturday. Sometimes something comes up and I do a different day. But regardless, follow Half Empty Energy Tank on Twitch. That is Half Empty Energy Tank. Good stuff every day on that channel. We're also going to be doing the Mega Manathon coming in, which is one of the reasons I won't be on the podcast after Christmas. Every year at MagFest, we host the Mega Manathon, which is a 72-hour stream where we raise money for Child's Play charity. It's going to be kind of crazy this year. It's going to be interesting. I've heard about a few of the people that will be on our stage. I can't say anything right now. So, it's but announcements will happen soon, and it's going to be amazing. Brian is doing the finishing touches either today or tomorrow on the advertisement, so it should be up soon, very soon. But yeah, lots of exciting stuff in that regard. Also, yawning real quick. Ugh. God. Coming very soon to this channel, I'll be working with a few people on a multiplayer show that I want to do. I've been kind of tossing it around for a while, trying to think about how I want to do it. But when I say multiplayer show, I'm talking about a YouTube show about multiplayer games.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I was about to say, I was like, oh, I did not know about this.
No, you know about this. Yeah. But this will definitely be up on the YouTube channel, which Anthony will talk about in a second. So look forward to that.
Definitely. We got some big plans for 2017, and we're going to start by taking over the world somehow.
Well, we're not doing a good job at it now, so
yeah,
we'll work on it.
It's a work in progress.
We're doing a good job on other things, but not taking over the world. That's the part we're failing on.
Yeah. Not enough evil plans. So you can follow me personally on Twitter at DefectiveNaruto. You follow the work that me and Greg do on our website at missionstartpodcast.com. Give me a second here. If you enjoyed this podcast, if you enjoy listening to it, watching it on YouTube, I suggest you check it out on iTunes and Stitcher. We're also on the Patreon as well. But we normally post up the podcast up on Tuesdays on iTunes and Stitcher, as well as on the website. And you can also find it in our podcast section of our website, in the missionstartpodcast.com website. You can also check out The Carnover, which is a podcast about convention talk. If we've been to the convention, we talk to a cosplayer or whoever, and we talk about, hey, how was the convention? And we kind of just discuss ideas and, the good and the bad. Maybe some stories thrown in here and there. Check out The Conover, which is also on iTunes and Stitcher. We're going to have a Conover episode actually coming up pretty soon. Talk to Jeremy Wilson about his time at Las Vegas Comic-Con, which he hosted the multiple panels and talked to multiple guests. So expect that in the near future. And then obviously, the Rolling 20s is a podcast that is actually, speaking of Jeremy Wilson, he is the host of the Rolling 20s. He just talks about video games, anime, comic books. Him and his crew, we talk about everything in the nerd realm, which you can also find on the website as well as on iTunes and Stitcher. You check out the Rolling 20s on missionstartpodcast.com in the podcast section of the website. And that's going to do it for us. What's today? Today's the 11th, right? Yeah, so, okay. We're getting close to Christmas time, so Christmas episode or whatnot we may or may not have. We'll find out soon enough, because, family stuff for a lot of people around this time. But yeah, I believe next week we'll have a show. We actually have a new show coming up pretty soon, actually. It's on Facebook, actually. So that, keep on tabs on that. I'm not gonna announce it now, but it's going to be a new show that I will be streaming on Facebook, on our Facebook feed. So if you want to check it out, it's at facebook.com/missionstartpodcast. It's going to be hosted by me, and it's going to be me and whoever I can bring in, and it's going to be about a thing, or you'll find out soon enough. It's going to be cool. It's going to be pretty awesome. So, secrets, yeah. Anyways, with that being said, thank you guys, and we'll see you guys next time.